What are we working on today, Fritz? Tell him. This thing.
Whoa, stained glass art type.
You heard it here first from Fritz. So I designed this kind of just a shape, you know, kind of overall thing. We had a few options on the body here. We were thinking either one of the ribs or in the middle. To me, it just looks so good in the middle. So I think that's where I'm gonna end up putting it. So I'm gonna have him, get him stenciled. We'll play around with some placements. While we have him standing up, we can look at some of these healed pieces we got going on. This is kind of like a recent one we did, which I really like the contrast of that laid in there. This is gonna kind of match this like kind of biblical Renaissance, you know, art theme. We have the back healed up. Can I get you to spin around, sir? I know we made a video about this one. It's all healed now, looking good. The contrast is in there. Maybe a spot or two in the black, but retouch that. So we're moving on this today. So let's play around with some stencils, see where this fits best, and get into it. We have Daniel drying. He touched it a little bit, which pretty much we're not friends anymore, but I'm still gonna do the tattoo. I can still see what's going on. Wasn't plan A, so I laid him down so that he doesn't touch it anymore. We're gonna let it dry. We got a nice lineup. So when I'm lining the center of the body, you know, I'm using marks up here. I'm not really paying attention to nipples. I'm not paying attention to belly button. Everyone's belly button is like off. I'm putting him, you know, centered, and I'm drawing a straight line down his whole body. His belly button is pretty centered. It's not perfectly, like the center's kind of more over here. But I see people do that a lot. They like try to line it up with the belly button. If you look at the center of the neck and you draw a straight line down, a lot of times the belly button's off. So don't use nipples, don't use belly button to line up when you're trying to center something like this. As you can see, just while we're waiting here, we have some of the healed tattoo going over the new stencil, here, here. So I'm just not gonna tattoo over that. I'm gonna put the new tattoo behind that, which maybe that's, you know, obvious to some of you guys, but I figured I'd say it. And I'll even just like draw a little line on the outside just to remind myself not to tattoo over it. It's almost like a bumper, so that's set on there now. I don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna be doing a lot of hard lines today. We're gonna try to give it the stained glass look. It's kind of my version of stained glass. A lot of the elements in here are shapes like you'd see in a stained glass window, but I'm gonna be doing the two faces with a little bit more realism. That's why they kind of have these thinner lines as opposed to the rest of the piece, which is like different shapes and more geometry style to try to emphasize the focus on those faces. So we're gonna give him a little bit to dry. So this is the position for the tattoo today. So I'm gonna be starting here and making my way over here. Left, right, so my hand doesn't wipe away the stencil. It'd be pretty hilarious if I started here and just wiped my whole stencil away. So I'm gonna be working on these outer lines. This skin down here is like a little hard to work with. You have to, I move slow because it is like this like spongy skin. And it's like the ribs where you really have to stretch to get it in there. But then when you release, it kind of makes a skinnier line. So in areas like the ribs, areas here with that like really stretchy skin where you're really manipulating the skin to get the line in, it's always good to go up like one thickness with the needle. So what I mean by that is like if you wanted a 7 line, but you're ripping lines on the ribs, maybe use a 9. Because when you stretch it out and you make that line and then you release and it goes back in, the line will be a little skinnier. We got a full house today. Take a look around the room. We got everyone going. I love days like today, high energy, everyone's in here, everyone's working. Some people prefer maybe a quieter shop, but not me. Lots of eye candy here today, huh, Fritz? For you.
Yeah.
So today I'm really going to be focusing on the lines. It's kind of the bulk of this piece is the line work. I'm using a 9 liner right now. And I might come back just for the outer lines to thicken it up. But I'm running the 9 right now. I think it's a 9 tight actually. So we're making some progress on the line work with this one. We're just kind of moving slow and steady. For me, the stomach area is a difficult area to line. So I'm giving it my best shot on the first pass, but there will definitely be some lines that I'll want to retouch. So when I complete this line work, I'm going to wipe it off really well so I can see exactly what the lines look like and I can retouch the ones that need to be retouched. But yeah, so right now I'm just kind of mixing between a bold 9 and then a tight 7. Right now I'm using the tight 7 to make these smaller accent lines. I'm moving a little slower so I have a little bit more control with the line. It is the stomach, so he's breathing, so you have to factor that in. And then also, you know, there'll be like ribs and stuff like that. So I'm moving slow as I come to like the different obstacles. Like I said, is breathing, ribs, and really making sure you're getting a good stretch. And not only a good stretch, but a consistent stretch. And what I mean by that is you want to try to stretch the same with every pull. You don't want to run a line on very tight skin and then not stretch as much. Pull another line, the lines will look different. With line work, it's consistency. Everything's the same. The needle is the same, the speed's the same, the stretch is, that's what we're going for. And the more consistent you can be with all the factors, the better line you're gonna get. I don't think it matters if you go fast or slow. I'm kind of slow when it comes to lining. It's really just whatever you're comfortable with. I see some people move fast, that's great. You know, if it works for you, if it's easier to make a straight line that way, then run it fast. As long as your machine can keep up. I'm running mine slow. I'm running this at 4.9. You know, so I'm moving slow. Put a lot of lines here. I'm trying to go after the thick line first. Go after them thick boys. And then I'll do all the small lines kind of inside. And then I'll find the next thick boy. So I have this thick one here. Now I'm going to do this other one on the face. Be very careful not to make a mess on the face. Really just in different parts to create a separation in this robe that we're working on. So I have that framed out, and I'm gonna come in with the tight 7, do all the small lines, and I'm just repeating this pattern. This is just kind of like what works for me. Do small sections. I know sometimes people want to just like, let's say they have their 9 line out, they're like, cool, I'm gonna hit everything that's a 9, and then I'm gonna plug in, you know, the 5 and hit everything that's a 5. I kind of like this method, just working on little sections at a time, because it's easier to save the stencil, you know? So I'll choose, you know, a little section, and just put all the different line weights in and then move on to the next section. I don't have to worry about trying to attack the whole piece and like save parts of my stencil. So we're starting to color it in a little bit. You can see I got everything lined out. I did block in the faces because the faces didn't really have lines, but I wanted to be able to keep the like facial structures that I had marked out. And then now I'm moving right to the top because I did decide to just kind of blast this over some tattoos that were already there. Which is a cool thing that you can choose to do if you've done all the tattoos. So they're yours to cover. But the primary reason I'm doing it this way and starting with the top is because we're not going to finish today. So I want to get this in and then let it heal so I can make sure I've covered everything the way that I want to cover. And if not, I'll be able to touch it next session. So it's kind of like the strategy. I was like, let me get that top cover up part done. So that way next session when we go to finish, I can retouch, you know, if necessary. I think we'll be all right, but it's always good to just like double check, you know. So right now I'm just kind of blasting in some dark tones. On top of everything, I'm gonna be leaving the framework relatively simple. You know, simple tones. I'm gonna keep it pretty dark, just so that the focus goes to the windows on the inside. So I'll be putting more light tones and skin breaks on the inside to try to draw your attention there and not to the frame. So we are done for the day, not because Danny tapped, because we agreed to stop together, right?
Right.
That's right, we agreed together. So we got the lines in there, which was really what I wanted to accomplish today. We started some of the shading, but then once we got to this point, we both agreed to stop. I feathered in, blocked in the face here, like I said, just before, so I didn't lose the stencil. With that, we're gonna see how that heals. Started the top because it is kind of like covering that portion. So then when it heals, I can see if I need to retouch, and the next session we'll complete this. We both agreed that we'll probably black out the belly button, and until next time.